You don't mind, right? Mom charged my card $5,800 for a family vacation, brushed off my protests as selfish, told the family I offered, and threatened to ruin the trip if I reversed the charge, leaving me scrambling to cover rent and overdue bills alone. My name's Ethan, 31. Parents, Robert and Linda. Siblings, Mark, 30, and Jenna, 27. In high school, I stacked shelves nights and chased straight A's because my family's motto for me was, "You'll handle it." When college hit, Dad clapped my shoulder. "Your scholarship material." Loans filled the gaps. I tutored calculus at 7 a.m. and closed a pizza place at midnight. Meanwhile, Mark restarted his journey at a pricier school on their dime. Jenna got a champagne-smelling Toyota at 19. I worked up to senior back-end engineer at Byteforge, saving for a down payment in a modest one-bedroom in Austin. The family group chat, Team Wins, mostly pinged me with Zelle links. "Nice to see you buying espresso machines when your sister can't cover rent." Mom would needle after stalking my Instagram story of a $200 grinder. I once lent Mark $2,000 for a transmission. He posted poolside from Vegas with a fishbowl cocktail. After that, I set a rule: no money without written terms. The new chorus arrived: size, silent treatments, and family helps family, interest-free. It started with Mark's text at 10:41 p.m. "Send your card. Dad said you're paying for Christmas." No emoji, no question mark. Like a dispatcher assigning routes. "No," I wrote. "I'm not authorizing anything." The dots bubbled, disappeared, came back. "Bro, it's family. We're talking memories, not mortgages." I put my phone face down and tried to finish code review. 5 minutes later, my screen lit up with a bank alert. $6, $200 approved for Suncoast travel. Then a second. International flight reservations confirmed. My old card, the one I'd given Mom 2 years ago for emergencies after Dad's knee surgery, was still active as a backup on their Apple Pay. I'd forgotten to delete it after the hospital bills cleared. Mom called before the adrenaline even hit. "Don't be dramatic," Linda said, voice sugar-glazed. "I already ran the card. Cancun for all of us. We fly December 22nd. The discount was expiring. You used my card without asking. You said to use it for emergencies," she replied brightly. "Our family hasn't been together since Jenna's graduation. That is an emergency. Cancel it." "You can't cancel a blessing," she said and hung up. By breakfast, the story had been pre-written and published. Mom tagged me on Facebook under a photo of 5 stock people clinking coconuts on a beach. My son offered to gift the family a holiday. Blessed to raise a giver. Within an hour, my aunt reshared with, "Blood is thicker than money," as if she owned the rights to aphorisms. A cousin I haven't spoken to since high school started a Greed of the Year poll and nominated people who cancel Christmas because they're stingy. My phone became a percussion section. Group chats buzzed. "Jenna, if you back out, I'm losing my vacation days. Do you even understand corporate HR? Dad, leave the charge or don't bother showing up on Sunday. Mark, you always loved playing hero till it costs you something." At lunch, I walked to the ATM to check my balance like it was a body temperature. Rent was due in 5 days, utilities already blinking red, and my card had dipped into overdraft. I stood there with the printed receipt in hand, the numbers looking like a ransom note. Back at my desk, my manager, Priya, leaned over my cubicle wall. "Everything okay? You've missed 2 Jira points this sprint." "Family stuff," I said, and laughed in a tone that meant I was not laughing. My hands shook just enough to hit the wrong keys. A small bug slipstreamed into staging. QA pinged. I fixed it, but something else cracked. The part of my head that believed disasters could be solved with enough coffee and polite emails. That evening was the neighborhood barbecue at my parents' place. The yearly open house my mom curated to confirm our normalcy to the cul-de-sac. The minute I arrived, a guy from 3 doors down lifted his beer and said, "Hey Scrooge, I heard you killed Cancun." Laughter. A neighbor I barely know squeezed my forearm and murmured, "It's okay not to be rich. Don't promise what you can't deliver." I hadn't promised anything. I found Mom arranging store-bought brownies on a crystal platter. You told the neighborhood? I told my friends, she corrected, smiling at nothing. I needed prayer warriors. Also, your aunt can do the airport drop-off. Cancel the trip. Ethan, she said, wiping an invisible smear from the counter. You make 6 figures. We are asking for 1 week of joy. You didn't ask. She tilted her head. If we had asked, would you have said yes? No. Then we save time. She set the platter down, her smile tightening. This family has poured into you. We are due a little pouring back. Dad intercepted me by the grill, tongs clenched like a summons. You're not going to humiliate your mother. Leave the charge. Or don't bother showing up to Christmas at all. I thought about my apartment, the quiet with the humming fridge, the plant I kept alive out of sheer obstinacy. The roast smoke curled around us. I said, I can't pay for 5 adults to go to Cancun. You can. You just won't, he said, and returned to flipping meat. Back home, I opened my laptop and pulled up the credit card portal. The $6,200 line item stared at me like a dare. I clicked dispute and the site froze, then asked for documentation. I uploaded the chat screenshots, the timestamps, the fact that the card had been stored without my consent. A red banner winked. We'll review within 30 days. My heart dropped. Rent was due in 5. I messaged Suncoast Travel. An agent named Kylie replied with cheerful non-answers. We're sorry to hear that. Non-refundable promotional fare. You can transfer the tickets for a fee of $450 per passenger plus fare difference. Translation. Pay more to give the thing away. At 1:13 a.m., Mark sent a selfie from a bar. Him, 2 friends, and a margarita big enough to swim in. Caption. Counting down to sand. Baby. I typed and erased a dozen responses, then put my phone on airplane mode and laid there, eyes open to the ceiling texture. Numbers slid around in my head like magnets that wouldn't click. Pay the charge and hemorrhage my savings? Refuse and be the villain in a morality play they'd already rehearsed? Morning brought the family chats crescendo. FYI, Mom wrote, I've told people not to buy us gifts this year because Ethan is blessing us. She added a heart and a beach umbrella. Within minutes, the comments rolled in. So proud of you, Ethan. You're an example of what a son should be. A woman I didn't know said, Wish my son was like you. Mine only sends me memes. I typed a single sentence. I did not authorize the charge. Sent. Silence. Then Dad. Don't gaslight your mother. Aunt Brenda. We all saw the post. Jenna. Maybe you should take a social media break. It's making you mean. The irony hit like cold water. Facts were less convincing than captions. At noon, Priya pinged me to hop into a quick 1:1. You seem scattered, she said gently. Take a day if you need. Also, we need the deployment script by Friday. Friday, I repeated. My rent was Monday. When I stepped out for air, my neighbor from my own building, Sasha, a nurse who works nights, caught the elevator with me. You okay? You look like you're eating bees. Family vacation, I said. Funded by my wallet. She raised an eyebrow. Have you told them no? I said no, I said. They heard yes. Sasha nodded like a person who has escorted belligerent patients through their own realities. Then make no a behavior, not a sentence. That evening, as I washed a pan I hadn't dirted, I replayed the barbecue jokes, the emojis, the sanctimony disguised as inspiration. Something precise clicked into place. It wasn't about a trip. It was about authorship, who gets to write my story. They'd published a version of me that was generous on command and silent on cost. They expected me to obey the script. So I opened a new document and started writing a different one. I called the bank from a conference room with a view of a parking garage. The rep introduced herself as Arya and read from a script about valued customers. I kept my voice even. I'm disputing a $6,200 charge to Suncoast Travel, I said. Card was used without my authorization by third parties who had an old copy stored in a wallet I did not consent to. She asked verification questions. noted the Apple Pay trail, and put me on hold to involve the fraud team. The elevator music switched to frantic violins. When she returned, her tone had straightened. We're issuing a provisional credit and flagging the merchant. Because of the amount and the card-on-file issue, the case may be referred for fraud investigation. We'll also block all devices associated with this card. 20 minutes later, my email pinged. Reservation canceled. Casa del Sol Cancun. I felt the breath leave me in a slow, controlled exhale. Then my phone rang. Mom, you're getting us criminal charges. Linda hissed. Do you know what you've done? I reported an unauthorized transaction. If there's an investigation, cooperate. You used the card without consent. You gave me that card for emergencies. Cancer is an emergency. A beach is a beach. Dad took the phone. You call again, he said, voice flat as a plank. You're not my son. Okay, I said. Then we're telling the truth out loud now. He hung up. The silence had a weight, but it didn't crush me. Clarified. Within an hour, Mark posted a Facebook manifesto written like a TED Talk. I don't like public drama, but integrity matters. Ethan promised a modest trip, then sicked the cops on our parents. He's forgotten who paid for his life. Pray for him. People who hadn't texted me since 2014 arrived with pitchforks and Bible verses. DMs stacked like unpaid bills. Honor thy mother and father. You only get one mom. Money comes and goes. Family is forever. A cousin sent me a voice note, damp with righteous tears. Grandma says your heart's gone cold. Just weigh your blessings, babe. At work, oblivious to context, a marketing coworker stopped by my desk holding her phone. This is you. On the screen, a meme. My LinkedIn headshot photoshopped onto an ATM with the caption, Ethan 24/7. Tap for family values. It had been posted in a private Facebook group and apparently leaked upward like sewage. My throat went dry. Priya walked by at that exact moment and paused, reading the room like a forensic tech. Ethan, can I borrow you? In a small meeting room, she closed the door. Do you need HR? I need a firewall, I said, trying to keep the joke's shape while it dissolved. It's family stuff. It spilled. This company cares mostly about two things: billable hours and not being sued, she said gently. If anyone harasses you at work, document it. If this affects your performance, tell me before I have to tell you. We returned to a client deck. Mid-slide, my mind went cottony and blank, and I flamed out on a simple Q&A about API rate limits. Priya fielded it seamlessly and didn't make a face, which made me want to crawl under the table more than if she had. At 5:07 p.m., Jenna called. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. Hey, you're making Mom cry. Just undo whatever you did with the bank. We can sort it out as a family. Also, my PTO is locked. I typed out a response and deleted it. Instead, I sent a single text. Do not use my financial information again. Then I toggled silence unknown callers and put my phone face down. By night, the pylon migrated offline. My mom's church prayer chain turned into a phone tree of shame. Mrs. Alvarez, who taught me algebra in 9th grade, left a voicemail about the humility to give. A neighbor from my parents' street texted, We were all rooting for you, man. Rooting for me to what? Perform. The coup de grace arrived in my mailbox. A handwritten note slid under my apartment door. No return address. Money isn't everything. Don't lose your family over $6K. The handwriting was familiar. Aunt Brenda, who once borrowed my Netflix password and then called to ask why I changed it. I did 3 things. First, I scanned everything. Screenshots, posts, the meme, and saved them to a folder labeled Boundaries. Second, I wrote a short, non-flammable email to my family list. The $6,200 charge was not authorized by me. The bank has issued a provisional credit pending investigation. Any further use of my financial information without consent will be reported. Do not contact my workplace. Communicate only via email. Third, I scheduled an appointment with a therapist. I needed a tether that didn't judge me by my gift cards. Mom replied within minutes. How dare you threaten us with lawyers? Even though I hadn't used that word, Dad sent nothing. Mark posted another status about legalistic spirits. Jenna DM'd, why are you being so formal? Because formality is armor, I thought. The next day, HR did ask to chat. Priya had preemptively looped them in. I walked in, handed them printed screenshots and said, I'm not asking you to intervene. I'm putting you on notice in case anyone contacts the company about me. My family is expressive. The HR rep, a man with a calming tie, nodded. We'll notate. If any calls or emails come through, they go straight to legal. In the meantime, consider PTO. I'll take Friday, I said, surprising myself, to handle personal logistics. When I got home, the building's front desk clerk waved me over. Your mother called here asking if you were in. I didn't give info, but heads up. I closed my eyes and pictured my quiet apartment, the plant by the window, the hum of the fridge. I made spaghetti and ate it standing up. The meme had been shared to a neighborhood Facebook group now. A stranger had commented, why do tech bros hate their parents? I turned off Wi-Fi and let quiet sit with me like a guest. Staring at the ceiling later, I asked the numbers their old question. Are $6,200 worth this blow-up? The math was easy. The truth was harder. If I caved now, it would set a market price on my silence. Next time it would be $2,000 for a moving deposit, then $10,000 for a down payment bridge, then something with 6 figures and the same script, blessing first, invoice later. My no had to become more than a sentence. It had to become a structure. I pulled out my laptop and drafted a simple boundary agreement. Not legalese, just clarity. Going forward, I will not provide money, loans, or my financial instruments without signed terms. I will not reward harassment. Violations end contact for 30 days. I read it twice, then closed the lid. The phone buzzed on the nightstand, then stopped, then buzzed again like a tiny trapped animal. I let it die out. In the quiet that followed, something else arrived, the first real slice of peace. Not victory, just a clean line on a messy page. The panic attack hit in conference room C. Glass walls, fake fern, the smell of dry erase marker. It didn't feel like panic at first. Just a humming in my hands, a slow zoom out, the table sliding away. Priya found me braced against the wall counting tiles. Sit, she said, voice steady. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6. I followed like a metronome. When I could swallow again, she nudged a paper cup toward me. Water. Also, go home. At home, I did what engineers do when systems misbehave. I opened tabs. Family financial abuse. Enmeshment and money. Unauthorized use by relatives. The language was clinical, almost absurdly calm. Debts for normal parenting. Guilt as leverage. Blood used to justify access to your wallet. A line stabbed through me. If saying no results in punishment, the money is not help. It's control. I reread it until my eyes went hot. I booked the first available slot with a therapist, Dr. Fleming, a gray-haired woman whose office had 2 chairs and no inspiring quotes. She didn't sugarcoat. This is financial abuse, she said, after I gave her the short version. And emotional. The tactics are classic. Entitlement framed as sacrifice, public shaming to enforce the family narrative, rewriting events to keep you supplying. I keep thinking, if I just explain it better. That's jade, she said. Justify, argue, defend, explain. It invites debate with people who are not debating in good faith. Boundaries are behaviors, not essays. You do them. Doing them gets me exiled. Then we measure the cost of staying fused versus the cost of differentiation, she said. Healthy support is requested, not assumed. Discussed, not imposed. Appreciated, not demanded as debt. Ideally reciprocal. The exception, not the routine. What you're describing is not support. It's extraction. She asked me to bring data to the next session. So I did. That weekend I pulled 5 years of statements into a spreadsheet. Zelle to Jenna, short-term loan. Venmo to Mark, urgent car, cash app to mom, bills, gift cards that felt less like gifts and more like tribute, subscriptions that mysteriously migrated to my cards and never migrated back. I color-coded it until it looked like a weather map of bad decisions. Total, $23,847.61. Just about the down payment I'd been scraping toward. A neat, poetic number the universe would never return on its own. Monday morning, I took PTO and turned escalation into tasks. Called the bank to confirm the provisional credit and request device purges. Any device not physically present with me should be delinked, I said. They obliged and mailed me a new card with a new number. Filed an identity theft report with the FTC, yes, even for family, so I'd have a case number if anyone tried to open credit in my name. I added a fraud alert with all 3 bureaus. The form asked, "Do you know the perpetrator?" I typed, "Yes." Then I stopped and let the weight of that settle, and typed, "Family member." Changed every password, moved to a manager, turned on physical key 2FA, removed my cards from every shared Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon household, the hidden hallways where family lingers. Emailed HR a tidy one-pager. Family harassment documented. Here is the case number. Forward any contacts to legal. I will not engage. Drafted a boundary letter with Dr. Fleming's help. Not a manifesto, a page. I will not provide money or access without written terms and my consent. I will not engage with shaming, threats, or contacting my workplace. Violations end contact for 30 days. Further financial violations will be reported. I printed it, signed it, and sent it to the family email thread with read receipts on. I CC'd myself from my lawyer friend's Gmail alias. No bluff, just optics that say, paper trail. An hour later, Mark texted, "Bro, you really sent a cease and desist?" LMAO. I hadn't. But if he heard cease, maybe he'd also hear desist. And then something shifted at work. Jessica from product swung by with coffee. We're friendly, not close. She closed the door with her foot and said, "My mom used to borrow my student loan refunds. It only stopped when I said no and meant it. First month felt like amputating a limb. The second month felt like breathing. How'd you survive the fallout?" "I made other people my people," she said simply. That night, an invite blinked in my text messages. Friendsgiving at ours, Saturday. Come hungry. No cards needed. No cards needed. 3 words that hit harder than any TED Talk. I RSVP'd yes before my fear could type a polite maybe. In therapy, I brought the spreadsheet in printed form. Dr. Fleming slid her glasses up. "Data tells a story. What do you want the next chapter to be?" "Not this," I said. "I want to buy a home. I want my money to be boring and mine. I want holidays that don't feel like tax audits." "Then your counterattack is clarity," she said. "Change the inputs. Stop rewarding the system." So I took the obvious step I'd avoided because it felt dramatic. I blocked my parents and siblings on everything but email. Not forever. For now. I created a filter that shunted any subject line containing disappointed, blessing, family, or pray into a folder called noise. If anyone truly needed me for a true emergency, they could email like adults with timestamps. The first hour felt like I turned off a smoke detector and my ears were still ringing. With the noise down, my brain did work that wasn't survival. I cleaned my apartment. I sat with the quiet. I made a budget that assumed no surprise withdrawals by other people's impulses. I printed the fraud alerts and taped them inside my desk like talismans. Then came the offline shaming rebranded. Mom mailed me a Hallmark card, photo of a beach at sunset. Inside, in her looping hand, "A good son steps up. Don't let lawyers tell you how to love." No return address. I held it under the lamp long enough to see the indentations where she'd pressed too hard. I put it in the boundaries folder. I wrote a short public statement, not to Facebook, not into the pit where nuance goes to die, but on my private Instagram story with close friends. I did not authorize or promise a family trip. My finances are private. If you see posts about me, please don't amplify. I'm okay. It wasn't a clapback. It was an ask. The replies were a wall of "got you," "we love you," and from Sasha across the hall. A photo of a spare chair at a table set with mismatched plates. Saturday, 6 p.m. No cards, only carbs. At Friendsgiving, I arrived with a store rotisserie chicken because I panicked at the idea of bringing something worthy. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and garlic and normal. People laughed at nothing. Someone spilled wine and didn't make it about character. In a corner, I admitted to Jessica, I filed an identity theft report on my mother. She didn't flinch. You filed paperwork on a problem. That's adulthood. When I got home that night, my phone had 18 emails in the noise folder. I didn't open them. I brushed my teeth to the hum of the bathroom fan and realized I had, for the first time in months, a picture of a life where boundaries didn't equal betrayal. It looked like this: a locked door that opens when I choose, a table where I'm invited, not invoiced, help that is given because I want to, not because I'm outnumbered. In the morning, Priya messaged, solid work on the rollback strategy. The panic room in my head had windows again. I ordered a cheap paper shredder and fed it every extra card I found in drawers. Hospital copy. The for emergencies backup. The sound was ugly and relieving. Calling it what it is didn't fix my family. It did fix one thing: the role I play. I stopped auditioning for Scapegoat Santa. I started writing a part where my no isn't cruel. It's clean. I wrote the email like I'd write a migration plan. Clear, idempotent, with rollback steps. Subject: boundaries and next steps. Running $6,200 on my card without consent is illegal and unacceptable. Going forward, I decide how my money is used. Help only after clear agreements. Either a gift, explicitly labeled, or a loan, written terms. I won't respond to guilt, shaming, or "you owe us." My card data stays private. Delete any copies. Any unauthorized use triggers protective steps up to and including a report. I want a relationship based on respect, not payments. I love you. These boundaries are not punishments. They're conditions for contact. I reread it for heat. It had none. Good. I hit send, then set my phone face down like a live wire. Replies arrived on cue, like actors hitting their marks. From Robert, 2 minutes later, apologize. Then we'll talk. No greeting, no sign-off. Just the ultimatum I'd been fed since I was tall enough to reach the sink. I typed a single line back. I won't apologize for protecting my finances and privacy. Happy to talk when the boundaries are respected. Linda's came next, a cascade without paragraph breaks. We took you to the doctor when you had the ear infection. You screamed all night. We bought your first clarinet. We sat in bleachers, we made costumes, we gave you life, and this is the thanks. Ever since you moved downtown, you think you're better. Who turned you against family? That therapist? You need to come see Pastor Mike. I read it twice, then allowed myself to feel the old hook tug. Gratitude at invoice rates. I answered, I appreciate what parents do. Normal parenting isn't a debt I pay forever. I'm not turned against you. I'm turning toward boundaries. My answer is the same. I love you. The boundaries stay. Mark fired off a text and an email. The text: do your dollars keep you warm at night? You've got no family. The email subject line: reality check. Inside, a screenshot of a GoFundMe he'd donated $10 to, captioned, real generosity. I closed it and replied with my template. I'm available to talk when there's no shaming. The boundaries stay. Only Jenna broke pattern. Subject: yeah, about the card. Look, I'm not great with money. I've been bailed out a lot. Charging your card was probably wrong. I didn't know about it until after. Mom said you offered and were being dramatic. I should have asked you directly. I'm sorry for my part. Can we talk without yelling? Maybe coffee? Public place. No ambush. I exhaled, surprised at how much those words landed. I wrote back, yes, Saturday, 10 a.m. at Finch and Oak. No ambush. If anyone else shows, I leave. Meanwhile, Aunt Brenda posted a shaky iPhone video of a prayer circle. The caption: pray for a lost nephew seduced by money and worldly counsel. Someone clipped it and forwarded it to me with 3 crying laughing emojis. I didn't engage. I added her address to my filter list and kept my hands away from the keyboard. The next day at work, Priya stopped by with a post-it. Reminder: you don't have to read everything people write about you. I smiled like a person learning a new muscle. At 10 a.m. Saturday, Jenna was already at Finch and Oak, hair in a messy bun, fingers wrapped around a paper cup like it contained answers. She stood to hug me, then thought better of it and waved. "Thanks for coming. Thanks for suggesting public," I said, and we sat. She got to it. "Mom saved your card in her Apple Pay after Dad's surgery. She treats it like a household card." I said that was sketchy. She said, "Ethan knows." Jenna looked up, eyes unsure. "Did you know?" "No. I forgot the card still existed. I never consented to storage." "That's not a misunderstanding. It's misuse." She nodded, biting the inside of her cheek. "I'm sorry I piled on. The group chat is like a wave, you just type what the wave wants. I hate that I helped make the meme. It hurt," I said, even not accusatory. "What I want is boring. If you need help, ask me. If I say no, the conversation ends." She pulled a crumpled paper from her tote. "I made a budget, like a real one. I can cover rent if I stop Postmates. I need to stop Postmates." A dry laugh. "I'm not asking you for money. I want advice." We spent an hour on her spreadsheet like we were co-authoring a peace treaty. We set up autopay for her utilities, canceled 3 subscriptions. Who pays $18 for premium horoscopes? Apparently me. And created a plan that didn't include me anywhere but as a human she could text. When we stood, she hugged me fast, like a truce. "I'll talk to Mom," she said. "She won't hear it from you." "Don't become the messenger," I said. "Just be you." On Sunday, my inbox pinged with a different kind of escalation. An email from a deacon at my parents' church. "We've heard concerning reports. Would you be open to pastoral counseling? We'd love to mediate." Attached, a PDF titled "Honoring Parents, a Guide." I replied with a sentence Dr. Fleming had helped me draft. "I appreciate the concern, but this is a private family boundary and a legal issue regarding unauthorized use of my financial instruments. I won't be discussing it with third parties." An hour later, Aunt Brenda sent a reply all, "We're just worried about your soul." I didn't reply. My template worked as both answer and silence. That evening, I sent one more email to the family thread, the simplest one yet. Quick recap. The bank reversed the $6,200 pending investigation. Please do not attempt to rebook using any information of mine. If there's a true emergency, defined as health/safety, you can email me. For anything else, ask. I may say no, that will stand. Dad finally broke the stalemate with something new. A phone call that rang once and went to voicemail. His message was 40 seconds of air. Then, "I don't recognize you." He hung up. I hit save on the audio file and didn't call back. Recognition is optional. Respect is not. Monday morning, Jenna texted, "Talk to Mom. She said you've been captured by therapy." I said therapy is fine. Theft is not. It went poorly, but I said it. I stared at the bubbles, felt the old ache, and then something else. Relief that someone else had seen the sign on the door. That afternoon, HR forwarded me an email that had come into the company's general inbox. Subject: a word about your employee. It was from an anonymous account but signed, "A Concerned Mother." Legal had already filed it under no action. The attached evidence was a collage of my supposed lavish purchases, my espresso grinder, a photo of me at a friend's wedding, my new running shoes, captioned, "He claims poverty." HR tagged it, "No response needed." I thanked them for looping me in. Then I added a rule to my personal email. Any subject line containing concerned goes to noise. That night, I opened my own spreadsheet, the one with 5 years of draining, and added a new tab, after. Row 1, provisional credit plus $6, 200. Row 2, therapist minus $120. Row 3, peace plus incalculable. I printed the boundary email and slid it into the folder with the Hallmark card and Aunt Brenda's prayer circle. Documentation, not ammunition. By midweek, the online tide had shifted in the smallest way. A cousin DM'd, "Didn't know they used your card. That's not okay." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The point wasn't winning the comments. It was changing the dynamic for me. I ended each reply the same way, and it became a mantra. "I love you. The boundaries stay." It read like a contradiction until it didn't. Love without boundaries is a flood. Boundaries without love are a wall. I was building a levee. 6 months is enough time for a habit to become a floor. The line held and life evened out. My calendar stopped bristling with urgent texts that weren't mine. Default mode switched from firefight to maintenance. I cleared arrears, then watched my savings account breathe back into a shape that looked like a down payment. On Saturdays, I tour little post-war houses in North Austin. Cottage-sized rectangles with pecan trees out front and kitchens that haven't met courts yet. Realtors try to read me. "Picture Christmas here." One chirps, gesturing at an empty living room. I picture something smaller. A good lock, a humming fridge, a table that sees friends more than invoices. My phone became a tool again, not a siren. Notifications returned to weather and package deliveries. No more "can you just," with a bank link attached. When it does buzz with family, it's an email, not a summons. The subject lines are less operatic. Sometimes there's silence, and that's also information. Jenna kept her coffee promise. She's 4 sessions into therapy and in that bright, painful phase where the puzzle pieces you thought were sky turn out to be water. "They covered my dorm and car insurance while you worked doubles," she said once, staring into a macchiato like it might object. It wasn't "we can't." It was "Ethan will manage." No grand gestures, no crying montage. Just 2 adults who can talk without intermediaries or blame. We share budgeting hacks like recipes. She sends me a photo of her pantry with label jars, proud as a science fair winner. My parents announced, via a brisk email, that they've updated estate plans accordingly. Translation: the will is for Mark and Jenna. I wrote back, "Your money, your choice. Mine, my choice." It read clean. Dad didn't reply. Linda sent a separate message about church bake sale signups and included a flyer with a clip art cupcake. The distance between "you're not my son" and "can you volunteer 9 to 11" is both small and enormous. I didn't sign up. I didn't explode. I let the email sit where it belongs, in a folder that doesn't run my life. Mark moved back in with them after corporate politics fired him. His online jabs faded, replaced by gym selfies and motivational quotes about haters. Once, he texted me at 1 a.m., "Ever feel like you were born into the wrong movie?" I saw it in the morning and didn't know what to say that wouldn't become a loan. I typed, "I hope you find a script that fits," and left it there. Work stabilized. Priya stopped speaking to me with her emergency voice. I shipped a ref actor that made onboarding a whisper instead of a scream. Jessica slapped a neon sticky note on my monitor. "Boring money equals sexy life." The team has a standing rule now. No one jokes about colleagues' families. It's written nowhere but lives everywhere, like the good kind of culture. Holidays came and went without the brass band of obligation. I went to Sasha's for Thanksgiving. We ate too much starch and watched a movie that required nothing of us. At New Year's, I stood on a cold balcony with 3 friends and a cheap sparkler. Nobody pulled out a card reader. Someone said, "To a year of low drama and high hydration." And we laughed like people who'd earned an easy joke. In February, Dad called and let it ring long enough to be intentional. I answered, "We're replacing the roof," he said, no preamble. "Insurance will cover some. The deductible is—" He paused, as if remembering a script with large holes. "Never mind. I can help you think through options," I offered. "Helic rates, contractor bids. I can't pay the deductible." A silence. Not angry, just the emptiness of a room where a piece of furniture used to be. "Send the contractor questions," he said finally. It wasn't warmth, but it wasn't a threat. We ended the call like 2 men stepping off a narrow bridge without shoving. Linda found a new line. "We're proud when you give to charity." I send her a photo when I drop off a box at the mutual aid center by the library. She replies with heart emojis. It's safer for both of us. My giving goes outward, not upward, and isn't a referendum on her motherhood. I practice being generous in ways that feel like me. I buy the team cinnamon rolls on release mornings because sugar is diplomacy. I cover a friend's emergency vet bill with no fanfare because he didn't make my help a personality test. I give Jenna my old laptop after wiping it like witness protection. She says, "No strings." I say, "No strings." We both hear the bell that didn't ring. Dr. Fleming calls this compassion without self-erasure. It's not a fortune cookie. It's work. On the days I feel petty or heroic, two sides of the same coin, she brings me back. Understand their limits without accepting harmful patterns, she says. You can love people and also not fund the parts of them that eat you. Once a month I do a ritual that would bore a camera crew. I sit down with my budget, reconcile, and print one page. The stack in the folder grows. It looks like a novel of small decisions. On the cover I wrote in pen, "My money is not a narrative for other people to write." Spring pressed green into the city. I toured a brick bungalow with sun through the windows and a little strip of yard that could host a grill and 2 chairs. The realtor said, "You could expand here," gesturing at a wall. I nodded, thinking maybe I wouldn't. Maybe a small, well-kept thing is exactly enough. Jenna and I hosted a Trivial Pursuit night at my 1-bedroom. The board was missing a pink wedge and nobody cared. Someone asked about my family and I said, "We're calmer." It was true in the way a lake is calm after weather. Not glass, but not a storm either. The meme faded from the internet. Nothing really disappears, but it lost its oxygen when I stopped fanning it with my attention. Aunt Brenda still posts prayers. I stopped being her audience. When I pass my parents' exit on the highway, my hands don't grip the wheel. Sometimes I take it and stop by for 20 minutes. Hello, weather, the neighbor's dog, then goodbye with a small, firm hug. The visits are short on purpose. Love is a nutrient, dosage matters. Last week, a new engineer DM'd me, "How do you handle family money pressure?" asking for a friend. I sent him the sentence that built my levee. "I love you. The boundaries stay." He wrote back, "That sounds cold." I said, "It's how I kept warmth. I'm not the family ATM anymore. The slot where my card went is covered, the machine unplugged. In its place is a human with a budget, a spine, and a sense of humor that survived the sermon circuit. I can be generous again, freely when I want and when I can, to people and causes that don't treat my yes like a water main. The revenge, if you need a word for it, looks like this. Nobody gets to draft me into their story with a swipe. On a quiet Sunday, I make coffee, fold laundry, and pull up listings I can afford. A text arrives from Jenna. Photo of her balanced bank app. Green numbers. Look, no fire. I send back a confetti emoji and a screenshot of a pecan tree I might soon call mine. Outside, a neighbor's radio lands on a song that drifted through my childhood kitchen. It doesn't make me reach for my wallet. It makes me open the window. The apartment fills with ordinary air. That's the ending I wanted. Not fireworks, not a gavel, just a room that holds. Tidy, unremarkable, paid for by me. Quiet enough to hear my own yes and my no without a chorus.